Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Both David and Lauren sent me this story, and I've talked a lot about AI on this channel, and in fact, I think I've kind of worn out my welcome with respect to AI and lawyers. And so, most recently, I did a video about the excuses lawyers had used when they got caught using AI. So I thought, well, that's pretty much the end of that, right? Well, no. Now it's in other arenas, and this I suspect to be happening as we go forward. In this case, it was a consulting firm, Deloitte, to pay money back to the government after using AI in $440,000 report. Now, this happened in Australia. The story's from The Guardian, and Krishani Donji wrote this. But a partial refund will be issued after several errors were found in a report into a department's compliance framework. And yeah, the report does sound like a page-turner. But again, it's happening in Australia, but Deloitte is a huge, huge company. They will provide a partial refund to the federal government of Australia over a report that they charged the government $440,000 to make, and it contained errors, and they admitted that they used generative artificial intelligence to help produce the report. And so that $440,000 in Australian dollars is about $291,000 in American dollars. The Department of Employment and Workplace Relations confirmed that Deloitte would repay the final installment under the contract. We don't know how much that is, though. But the final installment, which will be made public after the transaction is finalized. It comes as one senator accused the consultancy firm of having a human intelligence problem. Deloitte was commissioned by the department to review the targeted compliance framework and its IT system used to automate penalties in the welfare system if mutual obligations weren't met by job seekers in December of 2024. And yeah, that subject matter does glaze your eyes over to the point where you're like, maybe we could get AI to write this, because otherwise it might be a nightmare. However, the report found widespread issues in the system, including a lack of traceability between the rules of the framework and the legislation behind it, as well as system defects. It said an IT system was driven by punitive assumptions of participant noncompliance. Well, those are some fancy big words you're using there. Now, the report was first published in July and then re-uploaded to the DEWR website last week after the Australian Financial Review in August reported that multiple errors had been found, including non-existent references and citations. One academic who caught the errors said the report contained hallucinations, which is where AI models may fill in gaps, misinterpret data, or try to guess answers, or just make stuff up, as I like to say. Instead of just substituting one hallucinated fake reference for a new real reference, they've substituted the fake hallucinated references, and in the new version, there's like 5, 6, 7, or 8 in their place, he said. So what that suggests is that the original claim made in the body of the report wasn't based on any one particular evidentiary source. The updated review noted a small number of corrections to references and footnotes, but the department has said there have been no changes to the recommendations found in the report. Deloitte conducted the independent assurance review and has confirmed some footnotes and references were incorrect, a spokesperson said. The substance of the independent review is retained. There are no changes to the recommendations. Now, in the updated version of the report, Deloitte added reference to the use of generative AI in its appendix, stating that part of the report included the use of a generative artificial intelligence, large language model, based tool chain licensed by DEWR and hosted on DEWR's website. Now, Deloitte did not state that artificial intelligence was the reason behind the errors in the original report, and also they say they stand behind the original findings of the review. The updates made in no way impact or affect the substantive content, findings, and recommendations in the report. A spokesperson for Deloitte said the matter has been resolved directly with the client, of course, being the Australian government. So the academic says, despite his criticism, he hesitates to say the whole report should be regarded as illegitimate because the conclusions concur with other widespread evidence. Meanwhile, the senator who was critical of this was on a Senate inquiry into the integrity of consulting firms, said it looked like AI is being left to do the heavy lifting. Deloitte has a human intelligence problem, she said. This would be laughable if it wasn't so lamentable. partial refund looks like a partial apology for substandard work. Anyone looking to contract these firms should be asking exactly who's doing the work they're paying for and having the expertise, and that no AI use should be verified. Perhaps instead of a big consulting firm, procurers would be better off signing up for a ChatGPT subscription. Meanwhile, several incorrect references were found in the original report, including non-existent reports being cited by professors at the University of Sydney and a university in Sweden. Now, if you're going to make up reports, you want to make them harder to look up. And so you say, yeah, it came from a university in Sweden. Who knows? It might even be in Swedish. Don't bother looking it up. You probably couldn't read it. We did, but that's our job. Paper also reported a made-up reference to a court decision, and it cites a case. And Deloitte wrote in its final report that the update amended the summary of that proceeding, which contained errors. So it's an amazing case that this happened. And unfortunately, this is going to be happening, I think, a lot more as we go forward. A lot of people assume there'll be a learning curve with AI, and people assume that we're way over here in the learning curve when we're actually way over here at the beginning. Because so many people don't understand how far AI can go off the rails if you're not paying attention. And so I talked before about how in the legal system, there have been situations now that we've caught where an attorney turned in a brief that contained hallucinated cases, and a judge ruled in their favor and, in their opinion, cited the hallucinated cases. Now, that got caught, so it didn't make it as part of the permanent record out there. And in the law, case law is the permanent record. And so if case law comes down and gets reported, then other people can cite that case law to go, that's supporting my position. And I'm willing to bet you that somewhere down the road, some sharp-eyed legal student's going to be going through a case going, that looks interesting. We'll go look that up. Go look it up. Oh, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Now what happens? Because if the hallucination gets cited in an opinion and gets published, the hallucination in a roundabout way just became good case law. That's crazy. But the other thing to remember, and this is the danger, you give a prompt, and by the way, I have to tell you this, what the AI large language models do is remarkable. I've seen the output. I've seen the prompts and the output, and it blows my mind that they can do this. But there are still shortcomings. And the shortcoming is that you are looking for a particular answer to the prompt that you gave it, and it creates this great answer. And you're reading the answer, and if you do so without any critical thinking, it goes, well, it looks like a great response. But if you go through and check every single assertion it makes that relies on something else, whether it's a reference or a fact or something, and you discover it's making stuff up, I can win any argument there is if I can make stuff up. Your Honor, I understand what my opponent just said, but let me explain to you what the real facts are. If I get to make up facts, how can I lose? And so you can't do that. And another good, I think, parallel to this is if you're a writer and you write books, okay? If I wrote a book that had this amazing story in it, and I hand it to you and I go, that is a true story. And you read it, you go, wow, what an amazing story. And I go, oh, I actually just made that up. Now, I know what you're going to say. Steve, that's been done before. Oh, no, of course it's been done before. There have been hoaxes, literary hoaxes, where people publish stories saying this is a true story. When it comes out that it's not true and you go, wait, the guy just made that up? It's not that good of a story anymore. Now, the interesting thing is that people say that truth is stranger than fiction. That can be true. That can be true. But we're not talking about what's stranger. We're talking about what's more profound or interesting. And true stories that are true can be amazing. And then you go, oh, it was made up. Guess what? It's not that interesting anymore. So when somebody hires a consulting firm, a world-renowned consulting firm, and pays them $440,000 Australian, which is $291,000 US, $291,000, to write a report, And then they discover that the report was partially drafted using a large language model AI program, and it contained hallucinations and just made up stuff. A report out of a university in Sweden. Again, not making fun of Sweden, but you want to make up obscure reports, And as the person noted, the government could have hired ChatGPT also. Wouldn't it cost them $440,000 Australian? So I have a sneaky feeling there's going to be more and more of these stories, obviously with lawyers, consulting firms, people turning in reports at work, big corporations, government offices, and it's going to be happening. And I've spoken to people and I've read articles about people who start losing that handle on what these things actually do. And I've heard from a disturbing number of people who've said they did something because ChatGPT said to do it. And they said, well, I asked it what I should do, and it said this. Okay. That's about as good as asking a magic 8-ball. It's just the magic 8-ball doesn't have as many potential answers as ChatGPT. So fascinating story. David Lawrence, thanks for sending that over to me. Krishani Danji wrote that for The Guardian. Deloitte to pay money back to the government of Australia after using AI to draft a $440,000 report. That, of course, is Australian dollars. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. I discovered recently I scream the same way whether I think I'm about to be devoured by a shark or if a piece of seaweed touches my foot.